live. So, hello and welcome. We're going to talk about elementals. And before we do anything, I want to share my screen again so that we can have a basis to work from to begin with. So, hey, Stephanie. Hey, Sandy. Thank you for joining me on the live talking about elementals. And I've really been thinking about elementals and dimensions. And even like multi-universes, are they just the dimensions, right? Are we confusing them? Anyway, so that's my brain has been going to a lot of different places on this trip. Um, but to talk about elementals is really interesting because, of course, I have elementals in the book that I'm writing because it's all about elementals.
Mhm.
So I wanted to share this fact, and then that link I will put in the comments on Facebook when we're done, if anyone is interested in reading the article. So there is something around us. We have senses, more than five senses. And when we tap into those senses, we can feel and sometimes communicate and sometimes see what is not obvious from our eyes, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So the human eye can only see certain frequencies, and your ears can only pick up certain frequencies. One of the things this article talks about is that the human eye can only see, my favorite thing, oh, it's only 0.0035% of reality.
Mhm.
And that's the reality that we know. That's the vibrations and the frequencies we can pick up as scientists and physicists, right? And so, if that is all that we can see, what is there that we don't see? And what is reality to begin with? And so, elementals are those beings, those entities, if you will, that are at a frequency that our eyes don't pick up. And they're called elementals because they're not made of all of the elements of Earth, right? They're made of maybe fire and water, or maybe just water, right? Or they may be earth and fire. That means that they are transparent, if you will. And what's interesting about elementals, all of them, is in fact, let's flip it. Human beings are the only creatures on this planet that have free will. That means that elementals cannot choose to show up in your life. They cannot choose to enter your life. And let's talk about some of those. I'm going to stop sharing so we can have a conversation and I'm not lecturing. Right? Because I could go down that rat hole. Um, Not having free will means that they cannot choose to interfere with humanity. When they interfere with humanity, it's because they've been invited in. And my favorite line is they're like Dracula can't come into your house unless you invite Dracula in, right? So dragons are my elementals that I work with, and so they're my spirit guides. That energy is with me all the time. And the more that I invite the dragons in, the more I can feel and sense their aid and their assistance. It's the same as Steph, you invite your husband in, right? And
Yeah.
he is
Mhm.
right there. So when someone passes on, their frequency changes, but that doesn't necessarily mean they leave this earth,
I agree.
right? Right. And I got to listen, thank you, Stephanie, to a very interesting, would it be a documentary? It was an interview,
It
right?
was a podcast interview. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. About, quite frankly, the spirit elemental of
Mhm.
this woman's husband who died.
Yeah.
And I loved how she said, we both had to practice to learn the language of communicating
Yes.
across time,
Yes.
right? And so elementals don't just show up.
Right.
You have to believe in them and then practice communicating with them, right?
Hmm.
So share a little bit about how you and Logan are con communicating with each other. And he's her twin flame for anyone who doesn't know her story. That if you listen to any of my stuff, then you know Steph. Uh, right?
Yeah.
Definitely someone from past lives, definitely someone that she's been connected to time after time after time. He
Hmm.
died suddenly. He knew he was going to
Yeah.
die young. And in that grief,
Hmm.
he reached out to her. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
And it wasn't something that I really even believed in. I mean, I was going through a lot of grief at the time. Losing my husband was unexpected. It was a tragic accident. And so wasn't like I was trying to reach him, trying to connect him. I didn't even know it was possible, but I kept sensing things and feeling things like he was trying to connect to me. I
Mm-hmm.
felt almost like his urgency, like his emotion, his urgency in trying to connect to me, to let me know that he was okay, to let me know, don't worry, to let me know to be brave and to basically he just wanted me to be okay. As much as I worried about him, he was worrying about me. And in that moment after his passing, um, everything that I felt was just grief because I had never grieved anyone that deeply. And I've never lost anyone who was that close before. So everything that I was going through, I thought, okay, this is just the natural process of grief. I think I'm just going through the motion. I think I'm just feeling things. My body's going to shock. I'm hearing things, seeing things that I'm not. Um, but the more I start to understand it, and the more, I mean, I can tell, I remember going through it, I can tell, okay, this is not my emotion. I mean, I'm sad, I'm hurt, but then there's this other sorrow that know it's not mine. There were things that were being said that I knew were not my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm thinking, why am I feeling that? Why am I hearing that? Why am I hearing, I'm sorry? Who is sorry? And the only thing that I could think of was my husband because he came to my mind a lot, when I'm in the shower, when I am getting ready for my day, when I'm just going through the process, and it took me a while. Um, I think it was a week. It was exactly a week. No, a week and a day because it was a Thursday. Because he passed on a Wednesday and it was like a week later on a Thursday. Um, it was like he was trying to get a hold of me, and for some reason, I kept ignoring the signals, ignoring the signs. And finally, I was looking at my phone, and my phone started almost like he was messaging me. It was like he's saying, "I'm right here," since you weren't paying attention on my other signal, this will get your attention,
Yes,
So,
and there are dots on her phone from his phone number
yeah, yep,
that to prove that he was trying to get in touch.
yeah,
I
multiple
want to
times.
touch with Sandy for a brief second, if you don't mind. And
Yeah, yeah.
Sandy, I know that I said no, you wouldn't have to talk, but here's why I would want to touch with you. Sandy has had angels, shall we say, or some entities communicating with her your entire life. And her attitude was, you're not going to tell me what to do. So she ignored them because I'm the boss of me. You're not the boss of me,
Hmm.
right? Until recently. So, if you don't mind sharing just recently, um, what you're allowing through now and how that is impacting you.
Well, I believe that I used to be more in past lives as far as a healer or a shaman or just more. And I wanted to just ride along this time. I didn't want to have to learn or do I just wanted to be me, leave me alone. Well, that's what I thought. Um, and I met Gail and had a meditation. And the stubborn part of me is don't tell me what to do. And all Gail asked is that I open the door. And that's really been a blessing that I'm not upset with that stuff anymore. Um, I get phone calls from people, and next thing I know, I'm a counselor. And I never did go to training for it, but I just let it flow
Yeah.
and I joined the club. So it's been very interesting and fascinating. And I have a few friends in my life that I can tell these stories to, and they never, ever, ever will say, "What's wrong with you?" or "I don't believe that." So that the circles that you can get into, that you can embrace every single thing that happens to you, fills my heart. So I want to thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. Um, what I loved about uh, that podcast or that interview that you sent to me, Steph,
Hmm.
was some of the things that she said about tapping into these senses that we have,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I can feel it. I mean, we talk about God goosebumps, right? We God
Hmm.
bumps, right? And like
Hmm.
I'm getting them right now just talking about them, right? And
Yeah.
right, and it goes like right down the middle of my back and down my arms, right? And
Hmm.
out my fingers.
Yeah. Yep.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
Completely out there, the fingers. The book that I'm writing about dragons, I'm exploring different dimensions through that process. And it's making me be very curious about what I am, not who I am, but what I am, right? As an observer of this game of life, right? And guys, I mean, from an elemental perspective, I am an elemental who has chosen to bring all of the elements together in this avatar called a body in order to feel and experience,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and and the angels are elementals, witches are elementals,
Hmm.
elves are elementals, right? All of these beings that are around us look into history. These creatures have been in history throughout the world. They're
Yeah.
being seen or felt in all cultures. They have to exist. They have to exist for that to be, including spaceships,
Hmm. Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Right. Including, yep, right, right,
Yeah.
right. Because you can see the spaceships on etchings on the walls in caves,
Hmm.
right? You can see spacemen, right, right.
Yeah.
So Sandy's like,
No,
yes, yeah,
I've had my experience.
yeah. So share that if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah, I don't mind at all. It's actually I was not expecting it only because I had been working with Kylie, my friend Kylie, who you met when you were here
Yeah.
last week, and yeah, I'm helping her write her book, and so she is a psychic medium healer. She's also a shaman, and so she was telling me about her deep personal experience with alien visits. I mean, and it's not just her telling me the story, it's her husband who, is saying the same thing too. They're both on the same page. And I was like, oh, this is incredible. Usually, it's just one person. If it's just one person experiencing it, I'd be like, okay, maybe it was a psychological thing. Maybe it's all in her head. But he was validating. He's like, yes, we both woke up at night. It was like, outside our yard. And then I was listening, and I'm listening with an open heart, open mind. And then her husband turns to her, and her husband said, maybe we shouldn't tell Stephanie all of these things because she will experience it too. And at that time, I want to say 80% believer, but 20% skeptic. That was just, I've never experienced anything before, but I trust her and I trust him. So that's why the 80% was that I believed. So I said, oh, I'm not scared. I just said it nonchalantly. I'm not scared. Um, Not thinking that anything's going to happen to me. Well, a week later, in the middle of the night, I heard this humming outside my window, and my bedroom's on the second floor, so it's this humming like an engine, but it wasn't like a motor engine. It was like a machine type of engine. You can hear the pulse of the engine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought, oh, that's weird. And I thought, is the neighbor doing something in the middle of the night? And I was awake. And so and it wasn't one of those things where I was, asleep or anything like that. I was awake because the sound woke me up. And suddenly I started seeing lights scanning in front of me. Everything was dark. I couldn't see uh who was doing this. All I saw was just that there was these light that was scanning me, and suddenly I'm seeing memories flipping through my head, like they're scanning my memories. They're looking back at my history. I saw memories of my childhood, memories that I didn't even know were there, but I knew it was me. And I thought, okay, this is really strange, but I remember Kylie and her husband telling me about this. So I was like, this must be it. So just sit with it. But what kept me calm the whole time is that, I have my spiritual guides. So the whole time I can see my spiritual guides standing to the left of me. Three of them standing there. They're just watching me and they're saying, we're here, whatever happens, we'll keep you safe. And so that's the only thing that calmed me down. And then at the same time, I can feel my husband's presence too. So I thought, okay, my spiritual team is here, so I'm okay. Um, but all of a sudden, I felt like I was picked up, moved through this wormhole, and I was just being shifted into all these different places. I was being dropped into different rooms, like they were testing me to see if they can trust me. Um, and yeah, this happened 2 nights in a row where they were just assessing me. They didn't hurt me in any way, but they were just assessing me. And for me, with my technical background and everything, I'm like trying to, you know, dissect everything, like how is this happening, why is this happening, is it possible, did I imagine this, so I'm going through all that. But I talked to Kylie, she's like, yep, that's exactly what happened. They want to make sure they can trust you. And another thing was that before this happened, all the stories, all the things that I was writing, all the things that I was saving was getting deleted because for some reason, I guess they couldn't trust me with certain stories. But after that experience, things stopped being deleted. I felt like they trust me, and they saw that I was someone who had a genuine intention to really tell Kylie's story in a way that's authentic to her. And yeah, I've never experienced anything like that before. I've never experienced anything like that again, but I do believe that we have all these like elements that you said, things out there that we cannot explain, and science is just now discovering certain things. And like the podcast, the video that I sent you, like Dr. Swartz said, we have 34 senses. It's not just five. And there's so many that we have not yet tapped into. And so I love that you're writing your book about the elements and the elementals and, the different senses. Oh, you're on mute, Kel.
I do that when I cough, so that I don't interfere. So, one of the things that you mentioned was things being deleted.
Mhm.
Um, oh God, all right, I'll put that aside. So instead of that, um, what I want to talk about is how we are directed when we listen.
Yeah.
And it's my belief, and this is my belief, and what I love about this is the whole point of this podcast, if you will, is you hear different perspectives and you can take what you want. My
Mhm.
perspective is I do believe that these um, visitors have ascended. They have tapped into all of their senses. They have the ability to experience where they come from, the different dimensions, and communicate in a um, conscious communal way. And we're not there yet.
No.
And so I think the deleting and the changing is when we cross a line that we as an individual have not alchemized yet to the point where we can even handle it,
Yeah.
right?
One interesting thing that Kylie said to me, and she said, and this is pertaining to her experience. She said, you know why they visit, right? And I asked her why. She's like, because at one point you were them. You're just here as a visitor in a human body. So they're here because you are still them and they're looking after you. They're making
Yes,
that your journey here on Earth, your lesson, goes as you planned because the things that you learn here, you will one day take back to where you came from.
exactly. And so, Sandy, you are smiling because
Because it's just sounding so true.
oh, you just froze, honey. There you go.
Um, oh,
Go ahead.
I when somebody speaks the truth, when somebody speaks the truth, I just get a smile on my face. And my question was, when the travel occurred, was it physical? Because I sleep in the nude. So what do you do with that?
They don't care.
Yeah, I don't think they care. I mean, like for me, I don't it felt physical because I felt my body
Okay.
shift. I remember holding on to myself like this, and I remember feeling my blanket around me. So I felt like, okay, I feel like I'm still in my bed, but at the same time, because I was holding on to my blanket, but at the same time, I was being shifted. It was like this
Ooh,
force that was just moving me through wormholes. It felt like wormhole because I was going so fast, kind of like one of those rides that you're in when you're at the fair or something like that, and the ride's kind of shifting you. That's how I felt. I felt
okay.
being, yeah, pulled and pushed, and I was just moving. And I remember just holding on because I'm like, I don't know where I'm going, but I'm just gonna keep my arms here because I don't know what's around me. Everything was all dark.
And hang on to your blankie. That'll keep you safe, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And seeing that my guides were there and my husband was there, and I'm just like, okay, if they're here, then I guess I'm okay.
Right, right. And so sometimes so I'll share a story of a friend of mine whose husband passed away, and her and he also were very close. And I was at her house helping her with the garden, and we have the clippers and whatever, and it's time to put things away. And we cannot find one shears, one clipper. And
Mhm.
we looked everywhere. And so I said, Bill, her deceased husband, this is not funny. Where are they? Couldn't find them, couldn't find them, couldn't find them. The next day we go over, we go in the backyard, and there they are. There they are. Right. And I'm like, okay, okay. So, stop joking because he's a jokester, right? But it's letting her know he's there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and some of these messages are so clear too, and that's how I started to learn the language, like how you have said it and how Dr. Sword has said it, is that I was starting to learn the language because I was in my kitchen, and this was probably about, I want to say 2, 3 months after my husband had passed. And my husband's a carpenter, so he has all these tools, and I don't know the names of all these tools, but I can picture in my head. And I remember sitting in my kitchen, or actually standing in my kitchen, and I needed a particular tool, and I just said it out loud. I said it out loud and I was like, okay, honey, I'm looking for this tool. It's like this little hand saw, but it's machine. And I was just trying to describe it. And suddenly I heard very specific in the garage, around the car, hanging the wall. And I thought, okay, that's specific. It wasn't just, me kind of being urged to go into the garage, but it was very specific. It says, in the garage, around the car, hanging the wall. So I thought, okay, um, let's go check it out. So I walked into the garage, walked around the car, And there it was. The tool that I was looking for was hanging on the wall. And I'm just like, my gosh, it's there. And so and that's just, one of the experience. It's happened multiple times when I'm looking for certain things. He tell me, just like when you were at my house and you were looking for your phone and I heard, okay, it's on the couch outside. And I was like, okay, Gail, I think it's on the couch outside. And you went and there it was. So,
Yeah.
it's these things. Yeah, it's these things that I hear and it's very quick. So I know that, okay, I didn't even have time to think about it. It was like it just dropped into my head. So,
Well, and I will tell you, so I got to spend the night, 2 nights, but the first night, and I was like, so Logan, if you're here, I would love to know that you're here, but don't scare me. So in the middle of the night, right, like literally pushed my feet, right? And I woke up and I heard like a bang or something, and I went, I did ask you not to scare me now, didn't I? Right?
yeah.
Right. And so there was no explanation for what I felt and what I heard, other than I asked and I received.
Yeah.
Right.
And you discovered that he was a jokester.
Right. Right. And that's what I
Yeah.
said to you. I say he's a bit of a jokester. And you went, oh yeah, he is. Right. Which was fine. Which was fine. Um, and so what's the point of all of this? The point is that we have other senses, and we call it the sixth sense, but there's more than six, right? And if you can feel into it and trust your intuition, trust your gut, trust your ear, your these ears, not these ears, but these ears,
Hmm.
this eye, not these eyes, but this eye, right? And you start trusting those senses, things become clearer and clearer and clearer.
Yeah.
Um, I'll share with you how elementals work with people, right? And so elementals are not just beings. When I was first learning to meditate, I used to meditate 3 times a day and just really with no intention other than to hone my connection to self. And I was talking to someone, and I was with my husband at the time who was also meditating 3 times a day. We were ridiculously in alignment, ridiculous. And we were talking to someone about meditating, and both of us saw him build a brick wall because he didn't want to hear what we have to say. Because I looked at my husband and I said, did you see? He said, yes. I'm like, okay. Right?
Yeah.
That brick wall exists at a different level. And so we create elementals, we create with our mind, and we don't always see what we create. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. Right. Um, during my journey of
Down the cellar for the cellar. Fine.
yep, here we hear during my quest of uh, personal development at first. Now it's, definitely ascension. It's past spiritual development and right into ascension. But during personal development, my goal was to bring down the brick wall that I had built for myself. And Steph, you knew me when there were still some bricks. When you first met me, there was still some rough around the edges, Gail. Right? Um, and I was working on them, working on them, working on them. And then one day I was like, there's one brick left, and I could see it, but I couldn't move it.
Yeah.
Right. And so I asked my body to tell me what the brick is. And how did I do that? Favorite story, you'll hear it almost every podcast I have an opportunity to share it with. Before going to bed, I directed my subconscious to do a job. I basically said, you're not dreaming tonight. You have a job to do. And your job is to find out what that brick is because I need to work on it. And I woke up the next morning and I had like a flash. And so I don't remember the dream. I don't remember hearing anything, but I had a flash and a vision and I knew. That is a sense. right? That is this brain or this eye sense. And I knew. And so when you trust your knowing without trying to understand your knowing,
Mm-hmm.
it's real. I went and validated that knowing with a sister, and I'll share what, because I've shared it. The brick was that in vitro, my mom tried to abort me and failed.
Mm.
And, talk about my first abandonment experience here on earth, right? And so I checked with a sister of mine. My sisters are much older. And I said, so, mom tried, huh? And her response was, how did you know that? I said, because your body remembers everything. And I asked my body. And so then I actually went to an Indian nipi tent, which is a sweat lodge, and
Mm-hmm.
brought her down. And we had a little forgiveness ceremony. It was very healing. And the brick is gone, right? Um, I thanked her for failing. Right. Right. Um, and so we have all of the information. Gaia, Mother Earth, is a consciousness, has amazing knowledge. It's not just from source, not just from our body, but it's also from Mother Earth. And I believe all of them are me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All of them. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I am, air quotes, God. I am Gail. I am Gaia.
Mm-hmm.
I just need the language to communicate.
Yeah. Yeah. We're never just one.
No,
Yeah.
no. So we are past the half hour. Any last thoughts that you want to share with folks?
No, I'm just really glad for you to open up the space to speak about things that we don't often get to speak about because we fear judgment, because we fear that others might not understand. We feared of being labeled, things like that. And for me, I have come to the point where I can't deny what I know, and there's no fear of judgment anymore. I speak my truth, I speak my
Yeah,
experience, and no one can define that by me. But I'm really appreciative of you to um, open up this opportunity in the space to allow us to just speak those, our truth, our experience, our uh, lived experience, not just in this life, but all our lifetimes.
all of our lifetimes. And it's just so people are curious.
Mhm.
Any last thoughts, Sandy?
She nailed it, and to be able to just speak your truth. And I think that we are one, but it's a big one.
Mhm.
All of us are one.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
just the three of us, I mean, we're all so connected in ways that we don't yet have names for them yet, but we're all connected. I mean,
we
that is
are.
the
Science has proven that
beautiful thing.
already.
Yeah,
They've
that's the
already
beautiful
proven.
thing.
Yep.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
love science. So everybody, thank you so much for listening to us on Facebook. Enjoy.
All right.
I will be
Thank
sharing
Thank
this
you,
with
you.
you
Gail.
guys.
Okay.
Thank you.